sequel in Cape Town today, and eNCA's Pheladi Sethusa is covering that story for us. So I think the first important question is there going to be any amended legislation, Pheladi, that would be introduced to rein in these questionable religious practices?
Hi, Jeremy. So the short answer is no. Actually, absolutely not, is what MPs were saying today, that they actually cannot, as the state, step in and curtail people's religious freedom, especially because it's guaranteed in our constitution. And the CRL, sort of backed them and backtracked a bit, saying the intention is not to fully amend the laws we currently have in place, but to tighten and strengthen the laws we have around tax reform, especially where these religious practitioners are concerned. So they're saying strengthening simple things like where the money comes from and above board practices will help curtail incidents like the eNgcobo tragedy that we have seen.
So what you're suggesting is it's going to necessitate a degree of compromise?
Yes, the compromise that was actually reached here by both parties is that self-regulation may be the answer. So they're saying that they believe and trust that religious practitioners and religious leaders would be able to hold one another to account and would be able to point out when cult-like tendencies arise in particular areas in our country and say this is not wrong and this is not above board by our standards, and then those people would be dealt with accordingly. But again, the CRL raising that we don't have law around cults in particular, so that's a problematic, because then what kind of standard do you hold these people to? How do you define what's a cult and what's not? So they need to iron out what the self-regulation will actually mean and on what terms it'll happen on.
Did we have any light thrown on the current investigation into the tragedy?
The only information we were told is that the criminal investigation is still going on. The CRL again speaking very impassioned, in an impassioned manner about the 13 and 14-year-olds that they saw there who were mothers, and they were highlighting the fact that massive abuses had happened there, and those all still need to be investigated fully. So it is going to take some time, and the CRL was hoping that perhaps an inquiry is needed on this matter, because these violations have been going on since 1995. There are children who were born there and raised there, know no other way of life. So she says it's a gross human they were saying it's a gross human rights violation that went down there, and we need an inquiry to look into and unpack what happened there so it doesn't happen ever again.
All right, Pheladi Sethusa in Cape Town outside Parliament, thank you very much for joining us. This is Newsday, and